there's a couple different elements that build or make up high performance sales copy. But if we back up and we look down and provide some context, high performance copy is writing that's used to call a person to action.
Welcome to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast, where you will learn how to remix your mompreneur life so that you can win at work without losing yourself in the process. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business and elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl and hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. Let's do this. Hey friend, if you have ever wondered how to say things, whether it's on your website, in an email, on social media, say things to your audience, to your potential clients or current clients in a way that inspires them to move, inspires them to act. That is high performance copy. And we're going to be talking about that today on this episode. So I'm really excited to introduce you to my Turquoise Talk guest today, Jillian Anderson, who is a sales strategist, copywriter, and copy consultant for Motherhood inspired brands. She has worked with over 250 clients from across 55 countries and now specializes in high performance sales copy, the kind that sounds like you and sells way better. So if you've ever struggled with this or you don't know what copy is, this episode is for you. So let's dive in. Welcome back, friends, to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. I'm excited for today's Turquoise Talk guest, Jillian Anderson. Thank you so much for taking the time to come on the show and talk about a very important topic for mompreneurs.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about you, your family, and kind of how you got into the entrepreneur space.
Sure. So in 2013, my first child was born, my son, who is now 10, which is hard to believe. And I, at the time, had an established and thriving career as an abdominal massage specialist. So I was basically a female healthcare practitioner. I also worked at a spa that I loved. So it was a nice mix of, holistic health for women and the spa environment, which I really love. So he was born and I really didn't want to leave him. Like a lot of moms feel immediately like, how am I going to do this? I can't imagine leaving for 6-hour shifts. My job and my role as a massage therapist, whether I was at the spa or I was working with clients on my own, was very hands-on. And it was hard to sustain as a mom because I was, the term touched out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I was touched out. I just like the breastfeeding and like all the physical contact and adjusting to new motherhood for the first time. I really was dragging my feet going back to work. I didn't officially try to go back to work until he was 6 months. But even then, I just felt like this isn't right for me. This isn't working for me. How can I make money from home? How can I work and replace that income from home online? And that was the entry to the digital space, was that 2013. Of course, that first year and a half was me trying to figure out behind the scenes, like, what are people doing? How are they doing this? Like, what do I do? So I started to teach women holistic health concepts and I started to blog about what I knew. And I had advanced training in, prenatal care and postpartum care and just women's health in general, physiology. And so I started to write about those things and that's, snowballed from one thing to the next. And before I knew it, I had an engaged readership and I was able to launch my first digital offerings. Obviously, there's trial and error, right?
Yes.
I remember trying to sell my first $7 digital thing and was like, promoting about like talking about it one time and then being like, why didn't anyone buy it? Anyway.
Says every entrepreneur.
Right.
Right. When you first get started, it's like, what's happening? Why? Like if I build it, they're going to come, right?
Yes, right. You learn those lessons. So I eventually, everything snowballed into I had success with one-on-one $3,500 packages. I signed something like 7 clients at once for a $3,500 package, and that snowballed into taking that package and turning it into a digital course. And well, actually, I should say I ran it live. Have you heard of like seed launching, Jeff Walker style seed launching?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was my first big success, was doing a seed launch. I had just read his book. I hadn't, done any of the programs or anything yet. So just using his book, I did a seed launch and actually had my first 5-figure launch. And the next round, I turned it into all digital and had a $17,000 launch. And my mind was blown. I was like, this is
Yeah.
unbelievable. I started out wanting to just replace $3,000 a month,
Right. Right.
$4,000 a month of income. And then I just realized how much potential there
Mm.
was out here. When you have X amount of readers and you have a good product that you care about, that you believe in, that you believe is helpful, and you get it to the right people, there's so
Mhm.
much potential.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think communication is key, which is your kind of like strong suit, and like you can have a really great product. I heard someone say one time, best known beats best all day long. So you can be the best coach out there or the best course creator, but if you're not known because you're not getting it out there, you're not communicating it, or you're not communicating it effectively so that you're drawing in your people, right? Having your ideal client like see your stuff and then be like, oh, she gets me. She is me. Like I totally, relate to her. I think that's where a lot of people kind of hit a roadblock. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. I think I didn't realize that until later, looking back at
Mm-hmm.
trying to piece things together. Like, what really did enable me to, do this and get there
Mm-hmm.
faster? And what asset do I have? And what skills do I have? And I took it for granted, my writing.
Mm.
Uh, Writing for an online business, you need words everywhere. You need writing everywhere. You've got your emails, you've got to cover, you've got your sales page copy, you've got to cover, you've got web copy, you've got social. And I was an English major before I dropped out of college to become a massage therapist. So that was my zone, was writing. And I mean, no one had ever said to me, like, you could actually be a high paid writer.
Mm-hmm.
It was either you were going to go into academia if you were a
Mm-hmm.
writer, you were going to go
Yeah.
into journalism, which I kind of thought about, but there was no clear model for building a writing career. And deep down, that was the draw for me, was to use my gifts
Mm-hmm.
and stay with my son. Use my gifts,
Yeah.
stay with my son. So,
Yeah. Yeah. We're going to talk about, what is high performance sales copy here in just a minute, but I have to tell you a really funny story. So my background is in direct sales. So I was in direct sales for 16 years. And really, when you are in direct sales, there's not a whole lot of talk. There is more now than there was when I first started about building your own brand, right? And building your own kind of community around the products that you're selling for. It was really just the company's brand. And so as I started to learn this and kind of really felt led to build my own brand for coaching and speaking outside of my direct sales business, I remember joining a mastermind and they kept talking about copy. And I thought, who's making all these copies? Like I was thinking about like Xerox copies. Like I had no idea what they were talking about because I had never heard anybody use that term before. And so for someone who's listening, when we start talking about copy, we're talking about your sales copy, like what is written, right? On your website, in your emails, like in your communications. So maybe that's not new to you, but it was very new to me when I was in that mastermind. I felt like such an idiot. We got off the mastermind. I actually messaged the coach, and I was like, what are y'all talking about? Like they were so far ahead of where I was. Like I needed, just give me the basics. Like give me like, what is copy? What do you mean by that? So really funny story.
hey,
I still laugh at myself now. And I'm thinking I was in that mastermind going, what are they talking about? I had no idea.
well, good for you for getting in the room and just asking questions. I mean, I had the same moment. I had the same moment, and I can't remember if it was when I first saw B School coming out or when I first saw B School and it was on my radar, and maybe that might have been 2014 or 2015. There was somewhere on the page was talking about your copy. And I think that was my beginning. And I was like, what is that? So same thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So let's talk a little bit about this. Like how would you define high performance copy?
Well, high performance sales copy there's a couple different elements that build or make up high performance sales copy. But if we back up and we look down and provide some context, high performance copy is writing that's used to call a person to action. So I would probably best check the box of being a direct response copywriter. What I mean by that is there's typically one goal I'm working towards. At the bottom of the page, at the bottom of the email, I'm directing the reader to click here, sign up now. Yes, please take my seat, yes, I'm in. And so I have one goal typically for a piece of writing. Web copy is a little bit different, right? Mm-hmm. There's not as strong of a direct. There's a little bit more of that brand messaging, overall brand story, voice, establishing authority, which are all components to sales copywriting.
Right.
But high performance copy is research backed. It's research backed. It's compelling. It's emotionally moving. I like to say that there's empathy involved because there are a lot of people, this gets a little sticky because there are a lot of people who will use copywriting principles to, I don't know, be a little less than honest, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I really like to be honest, confronting, emotionally moving, and high performance copy is also psychology backed. So you start with your ideal person in mind. You're starting with your ideal customer, your ideal client, and you're really starting with their psych profile, the kinds of things they like to do, the kinds of brands they're already shopping from, where do they see themselves fitting into the world, all of those things that they relate to and connect with, ideas they connect with. And so there's a lot of components to it, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's what makes it so, I would say, difficult or complex for people that are just getting started and trying to figure out, like, what are all those things and how do I research those things? How do I know, again, like the whole ideal client thing? I see so many of my clients that when we're working through this, they get hung up on that. Like they get in their own little head about it instead of just asking the question. Like if they have friends that are maybe could fit that demographic, just asking them questions and learning what they're saying and taking notes about that, kind of doing that market research. But because it's so complex, I think a lot of people just wing it. So what would you say are some big mistakes you see people when they're trying to write emails, for example, and trying to get someone from the email to the offer, to take that action?
Yeah, great question. A recent mistake I saw, I'll get into two mistakes, but a recent mistake I was seeing with a copy client was the, publishing of almost like a newsletter style content, but missing the opportunity for tagging and direct sales follow-up. So it's not enough just to send kind of an email with, this is what's going on, you want to target. Your copy is only as good as your targeting, really. So I'm looking to see, okay, where in this email is this person clicking? If you're sending an email with go here, go here, go here, 3 options, let's just say, what link are they clicking and what sales page are they previewing? Are they going to your shop on your website? This particular client has herbs and she's an herbalist, and she, are they clicking to go look at the herbal formulas? Are they clicking to look at your offering one-on-one? What links are you putting in front of them? And are you tagging them? And then there's opportunity for a direct sales follow-up sequence, or there's just room to get more specific with that reader. Hey, I saw you were checking this out. And you don't have to be that direct, but like, hey, I saw you were, peeking at this. And so that was a mistake and I'm saying mistake, but that was an opportunity I saw recently for someone. And then I think with the ideal client thing that you're speaking to, is people are afraid to choose. They're really afraid to get it wrong, and it slows them down a lot. And so they end up doing this vague kind of thing where they just kind of dip a toe a little bit into being specific, but then they like back up and they're like, I can't say that because I'm going to turn so-and-so away. And,
Yeah.
that's a very common problem, and it doesn't go away.
Yeah.
It will follow you through your whole journey.
It will, and your brand will evolve and your business will evolve. And I think about when I first launched my first course. I mean, my brand is like not completely different, but a lot different. It looks a lot different. Who I'm speaking to is the way I'm speaking to them is different. So you just have to be willing to start. And I think that's kind of what you're saying. Like, don't allow yourself to just to kind of get into that hole. Just start something, try something, be willing to put yourself out there. And as an includer, that's one of my gifts is I don't like to disclude. And so it was really hard for me in the beginning to kind of hone it down to, okay, who do I want to talk to? But I remember someone saying, if you're talking to everyone, you're talking to no one. And so you really do have to kind of streamline it down and just be willing to try it. And then you kind of figure it out as you go.
Yeah, it's really, I aim to turn people away in my work. Who can I turn away? Who can I disqualify? Who can I, who do I need to look away and go somewhere else? And it enables me to feel a little bit more free in the process.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I like that quote. If you're talking to everybody, you're talking to nobody. How can we be specific?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier, just about kind of being manipulative in copy, or so where is that line for people, like, to, being ethical versus trying to manipulate people? Because I do think there are a lot of really great people who are trying to say the right things, but they feel like, well, I'm being salesy, or I'm being manipulative, or I'm trying to convince, versus, so how would you help someone through that?
Yeah, great question.
Hey friend, can I give you permission today? Like, for real, your own permission slip. Permission to get clear, to cut out the noise, mostly the noise that is going on around in your own mind, in your own head. It's just swirling. And you're asking yourself questions like, why am I stuck? Why am I frustrated? Why am I not making progress on my goals? I want to invite you to a free clarity call with me, where we're going to dive in and we're going to identify what are the 3 main issues that are keeping you stuck. Number 2, what are the mindsets around those issues that are actually keeping you from solving for those issues? It's not our skill sets, it's our mindsets that keep us stuck and hold us back. And then number 3, identifying what are your next steps. We all have a next step, and we have 100% responsibility for those next steps. Your only next step right now is to go to the show notes and book your free clarity call so that we can work through this. I'm believing in you, and I cannot wait to see you on our clarity call.
I basically believe that readers have free will to decide whether something is right for them or not. With that in mind, and that mindset of this person has free will on the other side of the sales page to decide whether this offer is right for them or not, I just honor that in the process, in the writing process. I'm looking at it as, yes, my goal is to showcase this offer as the solution for the person who has this problem. And I just weave in opportunities in the sales material for that person to, basically come back to themselves and decide, and fully decide on their own, with their own free will, is this right for me? I try to give context. I think where things get really manipulative, there's one example that comes to mind. I said this recently on another podcast. There's a difference between touching on someone's challenge or pain and twisting the knife. So there's a lot of sales material out there where there's a lot of knife twisting. There's a lot of using shame to get people to take action. I have no problem calling out someone's experience, but I don't twist a knife in a way that's like, for instance, this one sales page years ago, I'll never forget the sales page because I remember how it made me feel. It was for some kind of certification, and the whole premise of this sales page, I don't know who the writers were for this, but they were trained. You could tell this was a professionally done sales page. The whole premise was, you're not good enough in your industry unless you take this certification.
Yeah.
You don't know enough. You don't have what you need to make the money you want to make. You don't have what you need to be the leader or expert. It was basically, the message like, you're not good enough to get the results you want without this program. And it really stuck with me. I was like, there's a way better way to make a sales argument than that. So whoever came up with that angle, I don't know who they are. I don't know where they are now, but I remember that copy. I don't twist the knife. I definitely don't shy away from writing to someone's experience, the challenges, the pains, the frustrations. I can't stand when people in the industry are like, don't use pain point I don't know. It's hard to explain, but they'll be like, pain point marketing is bad. Is establishing empathy with someone bad?
Yeah.
No, most of us want to feel heard. We want to feel understood. We want to feel like someone gets it. So establish empathy with your reader. Don't be afraid to highlight her pain and her challenge. Just don't try to, I don't know, twist the knife, if that makes sense. I know that's like a little bit vague, but I'm trying to get to it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it totally does. I mean, struggle and pain are universal. Everyone relates to struggle and pain. Most people don't relate to, at least in my industry, most of the women don't relate to success. And so if you're just talking about success, but you're not talking about the pain, right? The mess, there's a mess before the success. So if you're not talking about the mess, that's really where they relate to you the most. At least for me, when I'm reading something, I'm like, oh my gosh, yes, that's me, or that was me, or I can see myself doing that. It's just being that relatable. And that's who I try to be in my copy. Is I may not be the only expert, but I know your problem because I've experienced it, right?
Yes.
And here are the things that I have done to create progress along my journey, not perfection, but progress. So no, I totally get what you're saying. I mean, you can make people feel just like, if I don't invest in this, like my life is over, like your way is the only way. And that doesn't empower people, I don't think. I think it shuts them down, especially if they don't see that they can do that offer or they can't afford that offer.
Well, you know what else? Behind the scenes of these businesses, we are not seeing how many unhappy customers are asking for refunds. And look, refunds are a part of business. When you get to a certain point, you realize that, refunds and customer service is a part of every single business. But there are a lot of businesses that, because the copy isn't, it's hard to put it, but because when you do a really good job with your copy, in terms of that moment where where the reader is making the decision, when you do a really good job, an honest job in that area, transparency, you actually have clients who are a great fit behind the scenes. And because they made their own empowered free will decision, they're so stoked to be there, and they're accountable to themselves. Yeah. I signed up for this offer. Even if 2 weeks in, they start second guessing that they're in that seat and they're kind of getting cold feet, most of the time they're like, I decided I'm in, I'm going to ride this out. I made this investment. Obviously this kind of experience, it varies based on the price point of the offer.
Right.
But there are a lot of businesses behind the scenes where people are, they're like, they don't feel like they really decided.
Yeah. Yeah.
They got swept up into the movement of the thing. And then they're like, did I really decide to be here? Why did I do this?
Yeah. Yeah. So I'd like to talk just a little bit specifically about email copy and kind of what you're seeing. There's been a lot of talk recently, just in some groups that I'm in, about, open rates not as important as the click-through rate, and then click-through rates. Like, how do you measure that? How do you get them from opening, hey, I'm interested, but then actually getting them to take action? So I'd love to just hear from you, like when you're working with a client and you're helping them with their email marketing, what are some do's and don'ts maybe, or what are you seeing that's really, really being effective to getting people to click through?
Yeah, great question. I think that targeting is the foundation for any solid email marketing strategy. The more you have tagging built out and you can see who's clicking what and who's interested in what, and you can target based on those tags, the more your open rate and click-through rate increases, because the person, for instance, I get emails every week from businesses. Obviously, I subscribe and study this stuff, and I study people's email. I don't creep, but I'm like, what is so-and-so doing with their email marketing? So basically I get a lot of emails, and recently I've been getting emails for offers from, a leader in the women's health industry who I haven't clicked on any of her stuff in months. So, and I'm getting some emails that are like last call, last call.
Mm-hmm.
I shouldn't be getting those. I'm not engaged with any material recently. So nobody's perfect. Everybody makes email marketing mistakes. I wouldn't go for perfection, but I would, there's at some point, there's an opportunity to either do some self-study or consult with someone who can help kind of clean up things, tie up loose ends. Right now, I'm in a group and we're talking about list cleanup. Who's not
Mm-hmm.
engaged? How can we do a cleanup? There's also opportunities for re-engagement. There's
Mm-hmm.
opportunities for tagging. I want to send some emails personally to my list where I can start to tag based on interest. I want everybody who's interested in the podcast, the Vital Mother podcast relaunch, to be tagged. It's really about getting the right content or the right email and the right
Mm-hmm.
offer to the right people.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you have a favorite email platform?
I do. I'm an Active Campaign user.
Mm-hmm.
I love Active Campaign. I've worked in both Active Campaign and ConvertKit. I'm hearing a lot about Flowdesk right now. I think because I'm comfortable and study and well versed in Active Campaign, I trust its capabilities. ConvertKit is, I would say, like a close competitor. That's
Mm-hmm.
my take. There's a lot of copywriters who promote ConvertKit.
Yeah.
I haven't yet figured out if that's because the referral program is strong. You kind of have to
Yeah.
dig in to like, why is this? Is it the referral program? So I love Active Campaign, and it's the targeting that I love about it.
Yeah. Yeah. So switching gears a little bit just into some life stuff. One of the questions I always like to ask my guests, because it's part of my mission with mompreneurs to help them to break through burnout. And I just would love to know if you've ever experienced burnout before. If you have, explain kind of what it felt like, maybe physically or emotionally for you. And then how did you work your way out of it?
Yeah, so I definitely experienced burnout in, I think it was 2020, 2021. And I'm going to call it burnout. It was a lot of factors at once. One, my worldview changed a lot post 2020. My relationships changed a lot. I started to lose friends and colleagues. It was a kind of a falling away of people who maybe just didn't like what I was thinking or the questions I was asking, I'll say.
Mm-hmm.
I also had been navigating as a family. We had been moving a lot, trying to figure out where we belonged because my husband was in the middle of a job switch, job transfer. So I had a hard time in 2020, 2021. And I also had my daughter who was, gosh, was she 13 months, like
Mm-hmm.
somewhere between 1 year and 1.5 years, So I think it all just hit me at once. I was trying to do my podcast. I was trying to do, previously, my business was more of a coaching business,
Mm-hmm.
and I would have called myself a coach. I called myself a coach, a mentor, and I don't know, everything just started to kind of feel very heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And it started to kind of crumble in a way. I don't know if that's the best way to put it because we were moving a lot. So I don't know about you, but like my home base is what allows me to rest, have
Mm-hmm.
rhythms, and keep things running. Whether
Yeah.
it's the kids' routines and their health and our cooking, the meal prep, or it was the podcast and seeing my clients, working on offer development. I think all the moving really, really wore me out trying to sustain all these things while we were doing that. And by 2021, I was ready for a break. And I took it. I took a 2 year break. We drastically cut our expenses. And I kind of did a little bit of work to keep my software running and kind of keep
Mm-hmm.
some things going. But I basically totally unplugged from my whole business and took a great long break.
Yeah. What was your biggest lesson during that time?
Great question. My biggest lesson during that time, I think it really had to do with seeing in as a woman and as a wife and a mother. I think it had to do with seeing that, being a woman, being a mother is seasonal. One of
Mm-hmm.
my copy clients, I have to credit her right here. Her name is Cynthia Spenla. She says all the time, motherhood is seasonal.
Mm-hmm.
And I was really that helped me see that this is a season where I just need to focus on the home, be good with the admin of the home, focus on my children, focus on healthy meals, heal up, rest up. And I did. And then, I was able to make a comeback and be more in alignment on my return. So I think that was the biggest lesson. Motherhood is seasonal. It's okay to take a break. It's okay to pause. It's okay to pump the brakes.
Yeah. Yeah.
To rest.
Yeah. And so many women, I think, need that message, just the permission for the break, whether it's a 30-minute break, a 30-day break. Right now I'm on a 30-day, well, it's been over 30 days now, a social media break. And I've been on social media ever since it kind of came out. And I thought, I've seen people do this, but I've never done it before. I wouldn't say I was really feeling burnt out, but I definitely felt like it was not a good use of my time right now, just for some things that I had going on. And I'm like, something had to come off the plate, right? The plate was super full. And it's been amazing, honestly, to take that break and give my brain some space to maybe do things a little different or think a little different. And I just think people, especially women, need that permission. And when they hear other women like you, I mean, you took a 2-year break, like that's amazing. And someone here is listening going, if I did that, my business would fall apart. But here you are today, right? 2 years later, and you have a business and you're relaunching your podcast and you have all of these amazing things. And had you kept going versus pausing, things would be different, right? Like you would probably still be exhausted. You probably wouldn't have the clear space that you have in your brain right now to think and create new offers and things like that. So
yeah, that space to reflect was really great for me because I really got quiet and figured out, well, who am I if I don't have a successful online business? And who am I as a wife and mother right now? And who am I, it's identity stuff that comes up.
Yeah.
And I really needed to go through that and come out the other side realizing, copywriting, copywriter. I was, when you're wanting to start an online business, really it's like, coaching is the biggest thing you see a lot of the time. For moms, like you see coaching and you see VA, become a VA, or, all these different options. And it's like I naturally moved into the coaching space. But in reflection, during that break, I really realized like, wow, I'm so excited about product development, offer creation, positioning. And that really is where I was constantly focusing with my clients anyway, offer positioning and the writing, the words they were publishing to articulate the impact of their offer.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me a little bit about what's most exciting for you right now.
Well, we just moved to South Carolina. I'm so excited. So if the people who've been following me since I got online know that I really struggled with living in Louisiana. My husband is from Louisiana for context, and I'm from New Jersey. So 2 very different states with very different things going on, right? So I'm really the most proud of being married for almost 12 years. I'm really the most proud of, despite not loving some of the logistical things related to marrying someone from Louisiana, we made it through this. Like it's hard to explain, but I grew up close to the ocean. I could just drive to the ocean, blue water, loved it. It was my whole thing. I looked for every year was like when it was time to drive down the shore and go to the ocean. Well, in Louisiana, when I moved down there and we finally went to like, I don't know what they called a beach,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I was like, what is going on? You guys, what is going on? This is not the same.
This is not a beach.
No. And, obviously the Gulf is, the closer you get to like Alabama and Florida, the bluer it gets. But Louisiana, Mississippi, and then the beginning of Alabama, there's no movement to the water. It's very still. It's very warm. It's not very blue. And so I really struggled with just not having access to some of the things that I really loved. At the same time, my husband's job opportunities were plentiful where he was from. He had a network, he had connections, he had good job opportunities. So when I needed to take my break, it was, okay,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to be the primary earner, and I'm not even going to be a close second. He's going to earn. I'm going to rest, be home with the kids. So it's compromise. And so what I'm most excited about is our new start here in South Carolina, because I can smell the ocean. I can see there's sand outside, even though we're 2 hours from the ocean. And I'm just figuring all these little shops and enjoying my kids getting to see new things and happy to be here starting fresh. And, and now my business is basically my new iteration of my business is under a year old. So it's like I get a fresh start in a fresh place.
Yeah.
And I'm so excited.
Speaking of that, tell those that are listening, like who you work with and what you help them do.
Sure. So I write high performance sales copy that sounds like you and sells way better. I write copy I actually have written copy for a number of different people, parenting coaches, business coaches that coach holistic healthcare practitioners, fertility specialists, postpartum specialists, midwives, doulas, birth workers. I have a background in that field. And so I write basically one of my offerings that I'm most known for is the high performance sales page service. So I love to sink my teeth into a sales page project because everything a client does from that sales page there's so much that stems from it. You can pull your social copy from it. You can pull your email copy from it. You can pull your sales message for your entire launch or promotion from a high performance sales page. So a lot of the times when I start with a client, it's the high performance sales page service. Sometimes a client will not be at the level where they need the high performance sales page service, and they'll come to me for copy analysis. And what copy analysis is basically I will go through your sales page, your website, whatever the asset is that you need reviewed. Yeah. And I will provide a professional analysis on that asset. So it's basically done for you copy or analysis at this moment. And then I also offer consulting services. So a lot of my clients, once they get in the room with me, they're like, okay, I need to consult with her before I develop an offer, because essentially I can't help but, like right now, an example is I'm working with a client and I'm writing a high performance sales page for her. But what is happening is we're shifting some things around her positioning of the offer itself and the delivery to make it an easier yes for the reader. And so people come back to me and they consult with me about their program, their course, their offers pricing, the way they communicate the pricing. Did that answer your question?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, for sure. If someone's listening and now that they know what copy is, and we clarified what copy is, and it's not in the Xerox room making copies.
Right.
It's like how, who does she work with? So where can they find you?
Okay. They can find me at Jillian-Anderson.com. And that's my website. And then on Instagram, it's at Jillian A. Anderson.
Okay. Awesome. We'll put links to all of that in the show notes. I think you had some free resources and things to PDF. So we'll put those in the show notes for everyone to go and check out. If you could leave the listeners and the mompreneurs of the world with a final thought, what would you like for them to know?
Oh, that's great. A final thought for the mom entrepreneurs. Oh, so this is like a hill I will die on. I really think a lot of us need a house cleaner. A lot of the mom entrepreneurs out there, it depends on how many hours you're working. It depends on your routine and your rhythm and your kids' age. It depends on your roles, what all the different things that are on your plate for the week are. I'm not going to give a blanket statement, one size fits all, but I am going to say 8 out of 10, just get someone in your house to clean it for you. It's going to be amazing. That was a game changer for me. It really allowed me to take my business more seriously. I profit young women by it. There's these young women who they're looking to make some money. Maybe they're in college, whatever. They come and they clean your house so good. And then you're like, wow, now I worked whatever hour week I worked. And now I'm going to rest this week and I'm actually not going to run around and try to clean bathrooms. Yeah. So that's a hill I'll die on is the house cleaner
It's
add-on.
best investment. It was the very first investment I made when I started bringing in some income was hire a housekeeper, and I've never looked back. And that was 17 years ago. So
I love it.
I agree with what you're saying. So, I mean, even if you, but some people love cleaning, and I'm like, I don't, okay, if you love cleaning, clean, outsource something else, right? So if it's not the housekeeper, but I think the overall message is you should not be doing it all. You can do it all, but you should not be doing it all. So what can you outsource? The things that you don't love doing to free up your time. One of the things my coach said to me years ago is if more money doesn't give you more time, you don't need more money. And that has always stuck with me. And I'm like, okay, she's like, and I mean more time to either work in your business or more time to spend with your family or more time to do what you want to do to focus on yourself. So if you're making more money and it's not giving you more time, you don't need more money. And that's just always stuck with me. So more time to invest in a housekeeper, right?
Yes. Yes.
Well, thank you so much for coming on. This was awesome. I know everybody's going to love this episode, and we'll definitely stay in touch.
Yes, we'll stay in touch. Thank you so much for having me on. Total honor. I really appreciate it. And yeah, thank you.
Awesome. All right, friends, we'll catch you on the next episode. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.